Greetings, comrades. As an addendum to my last video, one point which I meant to bring up but forgot, I also disagree with the idea that um, just because the economy and the political system of capitalism as it is now completely collapses, that's automatically good for the left wing and good for Marxists. Um, okay, we know what kind of a situation a recession causes: massive unemployment. Um, the kind of the way the working class is in Europe now is very different from the way it was in the day of the Bolsheviks, the way it was even 30 years ago or 40 years ago in the 70s. We don't have as many factory workers, as many trade workers. The majority of proletarians are actually very much split up into little departments, into little groups. Communities are very split up. There isn't much kind of a community essence. People are a lot more individualistic. Um, not not in I'm an individual, I dress differently, etc., etc. But literally in the way they live their lives. That I mean, you might have a friend here, and then you have individual friends spread across, but you're not necessarily connected to the community around you that much. And I think that's kind of becoming increasingly common. Um, so yeah, again, I disagree that the economy just collapsing, where people are going to turn around and say, "Wow, Karl Marx is right. Capitalism is bad. We should have socialism. Let's all have a revolution." I don't believe everyone's going to say that. I believe some people will say that. There's going to be people are going to start discussing the idea more. Um, but communists and Marxists are essentially part of the organised labour group. What's better for us is to have, in fact, lots of workers who are organised into unions, um, rather than having just a massive unemployment problem. I mean, unemployed people are obviously very much kind of put down by society anyway. Regardless of whatever kind of circumstances may have led to their unemployment, redundancy, um, well, redundancy basically, or disability, or anything kind of like that. Or unfair dismissal, they tend to be lumped in with the people who are lazy and who are benefit scroungers, and there is a lot of benefit fraud, because the system is easy to cheat for a start, and it's very hard to prove that people are committing benefit fraud. So it is a large problem that a lot of people are, not helping with. But what also doesn't help is people who are unemployed just through circumstance and not through choice, who just had bad luck or bad bosses, to be more specific. They tend to be lumped in with these kind of scroungers and these sort of social parasites and treated as such, which obviously kind of creates quite a nihilistic attitude on their part anyway. And it's stuff like when people do go on strike, you get all the kind of typical reactionary attitudes of oh, they should be, how can they be arguing and demanding more stuff from the bosses when there are millions of people everywhere that don't have jobs. They should be lucky they have any employment at all. And obviously I don't agree with that, but I understand why they're thinking that way in this kind of situation. Um, a revolution happens when there is no other option. And we're in a period, maybe that circumstance will arise for the time being, but I think it's foolish to think that just because the economy is going down, and automatically there's going to be an anti-capitalist revolution. I don't think that's so. Um, and of course, as we learned 80 or so years ago, I think, situations like this are much more likely to breed fascism than to breed Marxism, or a fascist-like ideology, not necessarily, a lot of people who are actually fascists tend to quibble over the fact, oh, well, there are no more fascists anymore. The fascists were the ones who marched on Rome in 1927 with Mussolini or something. It's like, no, you're still fascists. You're all fascist-like people. You think like fascists. You have fascist values. But obviously it's not 1927 anymore, and things are different. But yeah, just kind of either conservative reactionary nationalism or actual national socialism or whatever. Because it is a situation where, I mean, there's this whole thing with Bombardier, the company that makes trains, and their jobs got moved to Germany, and now even the CPB, which is basically the same vein as the KKE, kind of left-wing nationalists, are saying, British jobs for British workers and stuff like that. And yeah, so I wouldn't put too much faith in just because the shit's hitting the fan, we're automatically going to get communism. I think that's an incorrect thesis. So that's all I wanted to say, just as an addendum. Resolutes.